In this video, we will explore methods used to move, resize, and crop an image within InDesign CS6. Unlike other software applications you may be used to, dragging the handle of a frame that includes an imported graphic does not resize the graphic by default. When using InDesign CS6, it is imperative that you think of the graphic and frame as two separate items, and each of those items has its own bounding box. Simply dragging the frame of the imported graphic will either crop the graphic or leave a blank space outside of the graphic, depending on which direction you drag. Although this can seem frustrating, the ability to modify the frame separately from the graphic actually adds flexibility. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. Smart guides will make it easy to resize objects based on other items in your layout. As you resize an object, temporary guides may appear, indicating that the object is aligned with an edge or center of the page, or is the same height or width as another page item. Let's demonstrate the moving, resizing, and cropping of images within InDesign CS6 by first taking a look at our Sandy's Daycare Center booklet. Right now this image is not placed in a location that looks good, and it's not sized adequately. First, I'm going to move the image by pressing V on my keyboard to activate the selection tool. When you use the selection tool to select a graphics frame, you can select either the frame or the image within the frame. If you click outside the content grabber and drag the selection, the frame's content moves with the frame. If you drag the content grabber, the circle in the middle of the frame, the image moves within the frame. So to demonstrate my point, I'm first going to zoom in on the document. Then I'm going to left-click and drag the content grabber and start to move the image. Notice that my image is moving, but the frame that it resides in is not moving with it. Also, the border of my content is displayed in an orange color. When I let go, notice that moving just the content of the frame has caused part of the image to look as though it has disappeared. I'm going to select the content grabber in the middle of the image again, and as I move this time, notice that any portion of the image that is not displayed is outside of the frame. To ensure the entire image will be displayed, move all of the content back within the frame. Notice that the smart guides I mentioned earlier are now displayed, showing me that the image is going to be placed perfectly within the content frame when I let go of my mouse. Also note that you can select the content within a frame by using the direct selection tool on the tool panel as well. Now I'm going to left-click my mouse button and drag the image, but this time I'm going to select both the image and the frame by selecting within the blue outline of the frame, but not on top of the content grabber. Notice now I can move both the content and the frame easily around my page. As mentioned previously, simply grabbing a handle of the border of the frame and resizing it doesn't mean that you're necessarily resizing the graphic as well. When it comes to resizing a graphic, you have a couple of options. First, select the frame so that the handles are displayed. Notice that if I grab one of the handles and try to resize the graphic, I've simply made the frame larger and my content has gone unchanged. I'm going to undo my resizing. Now I'm going to try and resize my image by left-clicking on the content grabber and resizing with the handles that appear around the orange border. Notice when I do this, the graphic has increased in size, however, the image seems to be truncated because the frame size hasn't changed. If I want to be able to resize my images by clicking handles and dragging with my mouse, first I have to make sure that I have checked the box next to Auto Fit on the control panel. I'm going to check this box and use the handles to try resizing my graphic again. Notice at this time, when I resize the frame, the content is resized as well, because I have chosen to automatically fit the contents within the frame. Although this is a fast way to resize your image, what happens if you want to resize the image to a specific size? Watch the width and height measurements in the control panel as I resize an image, and notice that it would be difficult for me to match a very specific image size using this method. In order to be specific, you must use the up and down arrows for width and height, or type a specific size in the text box provided. You may have noticed that to the right of the width and height text box, there is a small icon that looks like a chain. This icon is called Constrain Proportions, and it indicates that as you increase or decrease the height or width of an object, InDesign will keep the height and width proportional so that you will not distort the image. If for any reason you do not want InDesign to constrain your proportions, simply left-click on the chain and notice now that the icon changes to what looks like a broken chain, and this indicates that it has been turned off. Users also have the option of changing the scale of an image as well. When you change the scale of a graphic object, you are changing the frame and the image's size by the percentage that you choose. Notice that there is a Constrain Proportions icon displayed for this feature as well. Leaving this selected or not is a matter of your personal preference. So let's say we'd like to make the image 50% larger than it is now. From either the height or width drop-down menu, we would select 150% to increase the scale size. We would want to pick 50% in this situation because scaling the image in its frame by 50% means that we're actually cutting the size of the image in half. Cropping and masking are terms that describe hiding part of an object. In general, the difference is that cropping uses a rectangle to trim the edges of an image, and masking uses an arbitrary shape to make an object's background transparent. In InDesign CS6, we use a graphics frame to crop or mask it. Because an imported graphic is automatically contained within a frame, you can crop or mask it immediately without having to create a frame for it. To demonstrate, we will crop a cartoon image displayed in another document. First, we must select the image with the Selection tool by pressing V on our keyboard if necessary. Then we'll drag any handle on the border of the frame or the bounding box. Notice that as we start to drag the handles of the frame, we are hiding a portion of the image. If the image is not positioned as you'd like it to be within the frame, don't forget that you can move the image by clicking on the content grabber in the middle of the image and dragging the image to your desired location. Also note that you can constrain the proportions of the frame while cropping by holding the Shift key on a PC or a Mac while you drag the frame's border. This concludes our tutorial on moving, resizing, and cropping an image within InDesign CS6. Images can have a lot of impact in your document, and for that reason they are very important. So hopefully this video has taken you one step further in creating a great looking document.